It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
No fear here in Declare Your Independence. From me, Ernest Hancock, from the Sonoran Desert, where they promised me rain today. Those liars. 98% chance of that. I ain't got to drop yet, but maybe we will. And that'd be cool. Which is why we scheduled 4 shows. I'm in the chair all freaking day. Holy crap! Well, what happened was we had Ian Davis on early in the morning from the United Kingdom, talking about digital ID in the UK, and you will neither be able to buy nor sell or work, or what, you got to have the mark of the beast. So that was interesting. Then Courtney Turner, she knows a lot of the same guys today. She's against technocracy. She's a little bit more get involved and, vote harder a little bit, but you got to at least be an activist and do something. Don't go sit out in the desert and rest on your laurels. And so that was an interesting conversation. And later, in a couple hours, we're going to have Aaron Day. Aaron Day, he's a crypto super advocate and knows a lot about stuff, and we're working with him on Xano and being able to have a parallel society, and we're being a use case for that because you're going to need to be able to communicate and barter and trade without the man's ID, you know what I mean? So we're going to be talking about that. A lot of things going on. I want to really understand this stablecoin thing because there's some weird stuff going on. And of course, Trump and friends, they got, bunches of money. They're going to make out okay on this one. But now we're talking to everybody. All these guys are going, wow, yeah, Patrick Wood. Patrick Wood. We're going to have some Patrick Wood. Yeah, we go, ooh, Patrick Wood. We met, decades ago. But he was introduced by a state senator, as a matter of fact. And he spoke at our Breakfast Club and all that kind of stuff. But he was the one that outed the Trilateral Commission back in the day. You write a book, and they wanted to shut him up because he understood, along with Professor Sutton from the Hoover Institute. They were like, man, all these guys are overlapping board of directors. They got a mission. They're going to take over the world. Well, they proceeded. And then it's like, you're a conspiracy nut. You even know about God. And right up until they had their 40th birthday, and they go, thanks, media, for being secret so we could do all the stuff we did, And I'm like, you can't be conspiratorial enough. Well, now, I guess he was kind of semi-retirement in the Scottsdale, Fountain Hills area, and then all of a sudden, he starts writing a bunch more books. All the stuff I've been telling you what's up. Here we go. And they have, along with Courtney Turner and Aaron Day and some of the other, they got a round table. They're all sharing information. Man, I lucked out today. I had the right lineup. So Patrick Wood is going to explain it to us. Now, he's a leading and critical expert on sustainable development, green economy, Agenda 21, 2030, historic technocracy stuff. But he's really an economist by education, financial analyst and writer by profession, and an American constitutionalist by choice. He maintains a biblical worldview and has deep historical insights into the modern attacks on sovereignty, property rights, and personal freedom. So that's why we friends. All right, Patrick, man, welcome to the show. What shall we talk about?
Wow, you tell me. You have a star-studded lineup today for sure. And I have to say, I was the only one talking about technocracy for probably 12, 13 years. Now you see other people have jumped on the bandwagon. They saw the light, so to speak, and they're putting their shoulder to the plow at this point. And I'm so glad that other people, good critical thinkers, are joining my cause, if you will, to expose technocracy. So we have people around the world at this point, in Australia, Japan, UK, Europe, people talking about not just the Trilateral Commission in the first place, but technocracy today. That's the expression of the Trilateral Commission when they said back in 1973 that they wanted to create a new international economic order. Here it is. That's Brzezinski's technotronic era. We're living in it today.
You know, you wrote the book. He's Columbia University. It's like 1970 or something like that.
Exactly.
And it was called America's Role in the New Technocratic Era. What was the title? The main title?
Between Two Ages.
Between Two Ages, right?
America's Role in the Technotronic Era. Exactly.
And that made him, favorite of, the Rocky people, Rockefellers of they, them, those, and the secret handshake, build a whatever the hell. And then this is where trilateralists, the Trilateral Commission came up. And the fact that the media has been so manipulated, so controlled for so long that it takes old guys like us to be able to remember how, that's not true, all the gaslighting, conspiracy theory, all that kind of. And as you get into any kind of activism or politics, that was the one thing that they kept throwing in my face. I'm 28, it's late 80s, and they're going, do you know about the Trilateral Commission? Do you know about the Council on Foreign Relations? Do you know about all this time? I don't know. What is it? Here it is. You say, hey, did you know? You conspiracy nut. And the whole time it's true. You got to go to John Birchers or something to find out what the hell is really going on. So I'm going, there's something going on here. And as a young activist, up in, through my 30s and so on, it became obvious that there was secrets. They didn't want the general public to understand because they can't get away with the stuff that they were doing until they changed Generation Next. They changed your opinion about the proper rule of government. You get the identity politics. Mm-hmm. I need, I should get, I want, and give me. So then they conned everybody and bribed everybody with entitlements of more money spent on what. Now we got a $38 trillion debt. And even if they revalued all the gold in Fort Knox from, I don't know what the hell they got, $42 or some stupid crap like that. They put it up to market value now, $4,000. It's still less than $1 trillion. It's like $1 trillion. I got $38 trillion debt, and they're going to sign that over to somebody, Federal Reserve or something. Give us this money. Now we got some walking around spending money. Then I'll have no gold and a $37 trillion debt. I'm like, man, these people need to be ignored and avoided, but opinions vary. They're like, oh, Ernie, you got to get involved, man. You got to do something. I'm involved in people freaking, be able to feed yourself because it's going to be a food thing. I'm just saying. And if you're not able to feed yourself, have electricity, water, growing gardens, educating your own kids kind of stuff, being an add to your local community out in the middle of whatever, you're just roadkill. That's my opinion. But, there's things you can do. Well, that's what we're going to talk to Patrick about today. There's something we can do. What can we do? You just inform us and repeat all the stuff you said was going to happen, then it happened. You just on the I told you so tour. You know what I mean? What are you advocating?
Wow. Let me just settle the dust on the Trilateral Commission for a second. People tell me frequently, you're stuck in the past, man. Trilateral, what? That's so old school. It's nothing to see there. And it is 50 years ago. Give me a break. Well, I tell you what, the Trilateral Commission is raising its head all over the place right now. And you can see it in, how about Canada? Mark Carney, really? A member of the Trilateral Commission? Yes, he is. How about Keir Starmer from the UK? He's a member of the Trilateral Commission. How about the new co-head of the World Economic Forum? This is a big one. Larry Fink. Yes, right. He's a member of the Trilateral Commission. Don't tell me the Trilateral Commission is irrelevant today. These people have been hiding in plain sight for 50 years, waiting for their turn to take over the world. This is the new international economic order. Now they've come to the farm, if you will, to collect their fruit. And it's a bountiful harvest for them, right? And you might remember how many times I talk about the goal of the Trilateral Commission was to basically get all the resources of the world into their pocket. That's legendary at this point. They're still at it. That's been the goal all these years to...
Now they're going to tokenize it.
Yeah, Zach. So now they're going to just tokenize it. Give me a break. These people are so sly and so devious and so evil that you just can't imagine. It's hard to get your head wrapped around what these people have done to us all these years.
Okay, let me give just a little bit of history, just for the, John Q. normies out there, so that they understand where this is going and from where. It's been the dream of all these we rule you people to be able to have the technology to know everything, be omnipotent, to be God. We know what's up, we know where and how and what. And it used to be ledgers and guys with those little green, caps on and accountants sitting at whatever. Then it's World War II and IBM comes up with punch cards and, the Nazis kind of get to find out where all the Jews are hiding, kind of thing. And then, this technology, which has been a goal since forever, because after the Industrial Revolution, you get into a lot of science and they, you got telephone and telegraph and tell a friend, whatever. They're going, look, we have the possibility of actually ruling the world. And this computer thing, woo, here we go. 70, Brzezinski writes the book, Between Two Ages, America's Role in the New Technocratic Era. Well, he was from Columbia, where a lot of this stuff kind of happens anyway. Comes to the attention of the Rockefellers. They go to the secret handshake meeting of whatever. Woo, we got a playbook here. Oh, let's do that. We want to do that. Let's do that. So then they created the Trilateral Commission, and the first people were, like the cabinet of Carter. Jimmy Carter comes in. Here they come. They start populating positions of government around the world. And the trilateral meant like Japan, Germany, and the U.S., and then, of course, Asia, Europe, everybody. But that's why they called it trilateral. That's where the money was. That's where, we were, Japanese were buying our treasuries, and you had the German economy was booming. You got North America. They were looking at, the financial hubs. If we get control of these, we can fill the world. Well, then they started doing it. Right in front of everybody. Nah, it's conspiracy theory. You dummy. You're one of them. Well, the media was in on it. They're all part of it. So by the time it's the 90s, later 90s, early 2000s, and so on, Patrick Wood and I, started, doing different events and so on. Then they had the smart city thing that was going on. Well, here comes the Technocratic era. I got written down, and I was focusing on how they were funding it. A fee, supporting the beast that's devouring you and taking all your money. So that's our history, Patrick and I. Patrick here in Arizona, we've done several things together. But what I want to talk about today is where are we now? What's the opposition to it? How much has general public opinion been informed or changed? And this stable coin freaking thing, bank, oh my God. This is, here we go again. Well, I need Patrick, monologue me, man. Tell everybody what they need to know. Go.
Wow. Number one, let's talk about central bank digital currencies first. You might remember that President Trump signed an executive order almost on day one, and he forbade our Federal Reserve to do anything with central bank digital currencies, and that still stands today. It might be rescinded at some point, but now the Fed has been sidelined.
No, they're not going to do it. Trump's going to do it with USD1.
Well, let me tell you why. This is my take on the whole thing, because the Fed was only charged to make payment tokens. That's the things that you pay people with, like money. And there is no facility ever in the BIS on down to all the central banks of the world other than just
Bank of
payment
International
tokens.
Settlement, Central Bank of Central
That's right.
Banks.
They're all about settlement tokens, whatever. And so Trump got this crazy idea. Well, we also have to have asset-based tokens, not payment tokens, but asset tokens beside this other system. So you have two pillars now in the thing that Trump has erected, and all the legislation and the regulations. They say is all in place.
Beautiful bill, the Genius Act, all that crap.
That's right. They've created very quickly. They've created a superstructure of regulation to support not only payment tokens, but also asset-based tokens. What does this mean? Well, forget the payment tokens for just a minute. They will be based on probably something like Tether, and they'll be linked to the dollar 1-to-1. So that's just basically the same thing at this point, other than it'll be programmable and that sort of thing, trackable.
Yeah, why do I want to link something to the U.S. dollar that's going away anyway?
I know.
It's going to inflation the same way.
Yeah,
What's the difference?
That's right. So the dollar at some point is just irrelevant. Probably be shed like so much garbage along the way. But here's the catch. With the concept of the asset-based tokens that can be used to tokenize any asset in the world, gold perhaps, or real estate, or
trees,
or the trees, or the rainforest. It doesn't matter if you can see it. If it's physical, you can tokenize it.
Oil.
That's right. So let me just tell you what they're eyeballing at this point. You might remember when Howard Lutnick, our new Secretary of Commerce, was lusting over our national resources on national TV. This is just after the election, and his concept is, he says, well, we have what are all the assets of the United States? And he pointed to the 680 million acres that the United States owns. That's supposed to be in a national trust for the people of the country. Not so anymore.
BlackRock's going to get it.
Okay, so here's the scam. If they can tokenize all of this land in the United States and all the mineral rights that go with it, the gold, the oil, the gas, you name it, the timber, and the farmland, all that stuff, if they can tokenize that whole thing, Lutnick said it may be worth $500 trillion. And I could believe that, actually. That's a lot of land. It's over 30% of the land mass of the United States. If they tokenize this will be the biggest heist of property in the history of the world.
Yep.
And it's all going to be floated into the ether sphere via tokens that could be distributed all over the world. Whoever wants to buy them can buy them. Probably be like a BlackRock and State Street and all those kind of people. They have the cash to offload, if you will, get rid of their dollars and put it into assets like this, right? Tokens. And then what you're left with, well, let me back up just one thing more. A physical asset is a physical asset. You have gold, right? It's in your pocket, and that's yours. You can touch it, you can feel it. It's very hard to steal it unless somebody comes up and mugs you or something, or robs your house and you break into your safe. Real estate is even harder to steal because it stays in place, right? So if you own a home right now, or property, whatever, that's there. Nobody can just walk in or bring up a truck, and take all your property and take it away, right? Especially real estate. Well, now they figured out we can't heist the real estate directly, but we can tokenize it. And now you can lift all the value out of the asset, the real estate, and now there's no value left in the real estate per se. Now it's been tokenized, and who owns that property at that point other than the people who did the tokenization in the first place? This is going to be the biggest heist that our country has never ever seen in its history. Probably the world at this point. I don't think there's been any other thing in the whole world in history that measures up to this, what's coming on.
Tell me this. We seen something similar. They tried this before. It was called carbon tax credits. That they, kind of created this carbon credit, financial instrument. Goldman Sachs owns them or something, or they're trading on the market, and that kind of, in public awareness came and went, but they still do it. They created an infrastructure by we got this here credit thing that we made up, and they doing that. Well, then they come up with this idea to tokenize everything. And Aaron Day will have on here in a couple hours, and he's all about, the revolution will be tokenized. Well, what he's talking about is that, okay, we tokenize stuff, but we own it, Well, we'll talk about that later, but the tokenization of assets that the United States government say they have, which is land, timber, lumber, oil, mining rights, whatever the heck it is they put a value on, fishing, places on the ocean, whatever. They'll put and tokenize everything, and it'll be a gazillion, and they'll buy it pennies on the dollar kind of deal, and then woohoo, it goes up. Oh, you want some of this? You got to come to us and buy it at this much. And homesteading, people going, well, I just go out and get some land, plop it, and improve it, and it's my nope. It belongs to BlackRock. And now here in Arizona, the East Valley, you're familiar, they got entire neighborhoods that aren't even for sale. They're for rent.
Yes.
They're building them, and like you say, well, BlackRock got some money, and they'll get they don't got $100 trillion, but they can always get it created for them by the Federal Reserve. I mean, and then you got the gold in Fort Knox, and if they revalue it from $42 or whatever stupid thing it is now to $4,000, well, how much is that? It's about $1 trillion. We got a $38 trillion debt. So now we give the gold to somebody else. They give us $1 trillion. Now we got $37 trillion debt and no gold. So this is a bank robbery. This is just pure and simple, and who's benefiting. Then yesterday we were doing some research, and I find out Trump has got I don't know, 1 point something billion dollars in crypto assets, a lot of them that he just created. The USD1 is, up there with Tether and Circle and all. Mm-hmm. It is a payment system. It is a stable dollar that his family had. We got our own. We're going to let me pass a law here. Do I need a law? Executive order? Go, woo, me and my family be rich. This is what's coming. I need to understand how you think this stable coin thing is going to be part of the theft. I mean, and the tokenizations. What is the plan? Map it out for us, will you, Patrick?
Wow. I wish I knew more probably about crypto in general. I understand it conceptually, but it's so complicated, it's really hard to get your head around it, what they're doing with it. I always suspected that all of these things like Bitcoin, et cetera, would be trackable. It would be, in other words, they will pierce the veil of where it all is in the first place. So we see governments now are completely compromised, or they've compromised this whole space at this point. And it's become a control mechanism at this point. It's total control mechanism. And if they're successful, they will not only have the assets in their possession, all the assets of the world in their possession, but they'll also have the ability to monitor everything that we do when we seek to consume those resources in their pocket, right? So what does that mean? What does that mean for the rest of humanity? Well, we have maybe 8 billion people wanting to consume the resources of the world. They want food, they want shelter, they want lumber to build houses, stuff like that. They want oil for energy, etc. The world population wants to consume resources, but they have increasingly the resources are offline in their pocket. Are they going to be selfish or generous with us?
You reached your quota on 2x4s. You're not allowed.
That's exactly right. You got one a day for the next 20 years or whatever. So this won't work. But here's the idea. This whole business of this was defined originally in Technocracy, by the way, in 1932, when they said they wanted to balance consumption and production. That meant they would manage all the resources of the world, at least in the technate, as they called it, and they would make sure that gets meted out to the people in that society according to how they saw fit. There was no choice get left to the people. They simply said, well, you're going to get your share of the continental wealth. That was their answer. And so, we're going to be happy with that. You just told us we're going to have our share. Where's our share? Well, there's never enough to fund your share for sure. So this was the die that was set in 1932. But what we have today, the resources of the world, they don't want you to have any access to them at all if they could, but as much as they can manage it just to keep you alive, like with carbon credits and social credit scoring systems and programmable cryptocurrency and that sort of stuff, where you're going to be blocked to spend your money where they don't want you to spend it, and you can spend it on stuff that they want you to spend it on, maybe payday candy bars or something. It's like, this is crazy. This is the dystopian world that they're creating, whether they realize it or not. This is the crazy dystopian world that they're creating today.
To what end? Because they love us.
No,
make a better future. What?
When all the assets are owned by somebody in the oligarchs amongst them. Remember, Klaus Schwab said, you'll own nothing by 2030. Well, this is exactly the plan. They want to strip all property rights away from anybody in the world at that point, and you'll own nothing. You'll have pay-per-view for any services that you want. You want to rent a car, you can rent it like Uber or something. You want to rent cookware for a nice fancy meal, you can rent that too, and then just put it back on your porch, and they'll cart it away when you're done. You want a fancy dress for a ball, you can rent that too. The idea is you're going to rent everything in the world. This is their goal. This is why this movement is afoot to create all these communities now, where the homes are owned by companies like BlackRock, and their rental companies. They're renting the homes; they'll never be brought back on the market. They're rentals. This is sweeping the nation at this point. They only started this in 2019, but now it's swept the nation, and whole neighborhoods are being bought up by these companies for cash. You see all the signs around town, we'll pay cash for your house. Who do you think has the cash to do that? It's not your mom and pop whatever 7-Eleven store owner that wants to pay cash for your house. So the idea is to get all the assets away from us, turn us into renters, and at that point we will be at their mercy. This is the end game. We will be at their mercy. And honestly, they have no mercy in the first place. But I'm just saying that's how we phrase it, right? We'll be at their mercy. Well, there's no mercy there. That's the problem.
All right. One of the things that, we need to understand, what we're up against. And it's more than just a philosophy or an advocacy by these people. We're the elite. We know better than you. You're too stupid to govern yourself. We rule you because you let us. I mean, whatever their mindset is. But it seems like each one of these people have a trait, and it's that they don't care. The people, I don't care. Well, you're going to harm, I don't care. Well, the earth is going, I don't care. I mean, what is it that they care about? If they even can care about anything, what do they care about?
They only care about lording it over everybody else in the world. That's all they care about.
Why? What's their rationale?
You have to say, well, maybe the devil is in the details here. I can't figure out why would anybody want to be in that position in the first place? Why, for instance, were the feudal lords in the Dark Ages? Why did they want to have all the real estate under their control? Well, maybe they just it just happened. Maybe they just accumulated so much they couldn't stop it, and all of a sudden everything fell into their hands, and all the paupers around the world had to beg for a little section of land to raise some pigs or something on. Maybe it's that simple. But on the other hand, I can see a satanic agenda of this whole thing when you consider the resources of the world. That's basically the whole world. When I say resources, we're also included in that. They look at us as resources, like cattle in the feedlot. That's a problem. But when you consider the whole world was given to man in the first place for his sustenance in the Garden of Eden, that was a deal. Adam, get out there and work your butt off, make a living, fill your refrigerator with food, etc. Right? Mm-hmm. And so, what's happening now? Well, we're being denied that resource by these people who clearly want to reduce the population of the world, and who want to, I say get rid of as many of us as they can, but the whole thing from the get-go was a mass stealing of these resources from the people of the world. I can't think any other explanation, Ernie, other than these people are just flat out, some of them flat out satanic in nature. At least their plans are lining up with the devil's plan, basically to destroy the earth.
I did a show, one of the first shows before Melody Carell had her Mel K show, and she was inspired by our conversation to do that, and she's been really friendly to the show. But she was from Hollywood. She went and visited her father, retirement and community in Florida, and there was like a 90-something-year-old military intelligence guy there. Oh, Hollywood, huh? Yeah. What do you know about this, and this? She goes back to Hollywood because she goes, damn, all this spirit cooking crap and all these celebrities doing whatever. And she's going, it's like a religion. These guys are looking for their stripes to get their front center seat in hell, and then, of course, they'll benefit from their relationships here. And she really, got me thinking, it's like a religion. It's their evil for evil's sake. So when I say freedom good, government bad, what am I saying? There's bad people doing bad things that they know is bad. That's the definition of evil. It's a spiritual thing. I mean, how close to that are you starting your thought process? Or we're in a spiritual war.
We really are. And the last symposium that I sponsored that had, let's see, we had international participants. One guy from Japan, Daniel Brudi, was from Japan. Jacob Nordengard was from Europe, Sweden. And David Hughes from the UK. We talked about this aspect of religion, or let's say some semblance of the New Age, and some throwing in some occultism. There definitely is a religion brewing in Silicon Valley at this point, and it's interesting to me that it's mostly pointed at Christianity, not to Buddhism, not to Hinduism, not to, I don't know, any other sect you might think, Islam, for instance. It's mostly pitched against or in place of Christianity. So they use terms like, for instance, Peter Thiel right now is talking about the Antichrist all over the media.
Doing a series.
You say, what does he know about the Antichrist? People look at what he's doing with his Palantir company, and they're asking the question, wait. You're telling us that you're doing all this stuff over here, but you, on the other hand, you say the Antichrist is coming over here. Aren't you the Antichrist? That people are asking that question to him. Holy mackerel! Well, you can see what's going on here. The guy doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. I can't figure out exactly some of the stuff, but he doesn't have a clue about the Bible for sure. So he's talking about things in terms that Christians will understand, but he has no credibility to be talking about those things in the first place. So it's crazy. But yes, there is a religious aspect to this. We see a lot of Gaia type religion. We see a lot of New Age type of stuff going on, and it's unmistakable at this point. And where it will go, maybe it'll merge into one world religion at some point, where everybody's going to be one big happy family. God help us.
The one thing that I got, I search a lot, and it comes up all over the place, is that Peter Thiel he said something. I'm looking here to see if I can get the quote, but it was something like, you're going to bring about the Antichrist when you're in opposition to AI. What? It was something like that. He's like, if you're afraid of the Antichrist coming, you need to let me do the AI. What the crap are you talking about? So what is it that he's saying?
At this point, it's a logical disconnect. It's gibberish. And here's basically what is offering to the whole world. If we strangle AI, we will directly bring out the Antichrist for sure, and he's going to destroy the world. But if you let AI go into my hands, for instance, and my friends, like people like Elon Musk, you put it into our hands, and you're going to get a dystopian world, scientific dictatorship, the likes of which you've never seen in your life. What's the choice here? Give me a choice. There's no choice. That's his point. There's no choice. He's giving us two possible scenarios, and both of them are just bad, totally bad.
He said, this is a quote, this is the Times or whatever. According to Thiel, a Christian, fears around advancements in areas such as artificial intelligence or the risk of nuclear war or environmental disasters could usher in a period of one world government, regulation, and the coming of the Antichrist. So he's saying fears around advancements in area. Well, is it artificial intelligence will bring this, or it's going to prevent it, or I have no idea what this was about. And the fact that, you know, I've seen in some other interviews that he's talking about, you know, other tech guys like Musk and so on and everything. It's all around, we have to have AI to save the planet. For whom? I mean, you know, you know, who are we saving it for, and what are we saving? Where the proper role of government is defense of individual rights, and we can't be, you know, worried about that kind of stuff. You know, we rule you. And Palantir going into, I found from Ian Davis today that Palantir is a big part of the British government now.
Oh, yes.
You know, I'm going, whoa, what the crap? You know, I got, you know everything about the United States transactions and people of everything. Let's throw the UK in there. What the hell, you know? So I this ID that's going on in Britain, you know, Ian was going on about how it was just fake. It was just, they already got it. They're just trying to make something legal. I mean, you see that a lot. You know, we got to make this legal to protect you from terrorists or whatever. Well, they're just trying to make it legal. They're already doing it, you know? So tell me about what you think about the effort that Starmer, you know, Mr. Trilateral, you know, that he is really, you will not be able to work. I mean, he is hard selling it. You know, by the end of this parliament, we're going to rule you. What do you think's going on there?
Well, there you go. You know, England is already so far over the hill, it's not even funny, but at this point, they're slipping into this concept of a scientific dictatorship. They'll have no freedom at all. And they're going to have, unfortunately, the British side of the country along with the Islamic side of the country. That's reminiscent, I think, of the statue in the book of Daniel, where the statue had toes of composed of clay and iron. They don't mix. There's no way they can mix, but the scientific dictatorship is going to come for all of them eventually. And I think people like Ian, he sees the handwriting on the wall at this point. Starmer is leading the charge. And don't think that Starmer is just an idiot. And he's not. He's a member of the Trilateral Commission, for one thing, and he's valuable to them as such. So if he's part of this great resource grab, that's the only way I can call it, the great resource grab of the millennia. He's part of that system. Whatever's going on in Canada, or excuse me, in England, you'll see resources being transferred into the hands of stronger hands, like the oligarchs, and out of the hands of the people in the country.
Now, this is, you know, just in my lifetime, you know, mostly coming aware in my 30s during the 90s of this stuff. I'm going to rattle off some real quick here, and you kind of see my mindset. What happened in the 90s, I'll show you here. In 1992, there was a bunch of parties. You know, you had, you know, the Hydrogen Power Party. You got the Green, the Libertarian, the New Alliance, the Natural Law Party. So Natural Law was this Dr. Hagelin with transcendental meditation out of, you know, Iowa and, you know, positive waves and whatever. But they were really pushing. They had qualified for ballot president in 32 states. They fielded 125 candidates, and Dr. Hagelin was their candidate. Now, what they were doing is they were advocating for what we're seeing now, that the scientific, technological elite that, you know, Eisenhower's warning us about, you know, the military-industrial complex was kind of a side effect of this technological elite. You know, they're going, oh, it's a military-industrial No, it was a scientific, technological elite running everything, and the result was the military-industrial complex. That's how I read it. You study it. And I'm going, okay, well, that's what they were advocating. They go, it needs to be a bunch of scientific, educated scientist elite that run everything because they know better than you. That's what they were advocating. Then you had that movie Zeitgeist that became a big thing, and then the second Zeitgeist Addendum. By then, it got hijacked by the Venus Project. Well, the Venus Project, U.S. nonprofit organization that proposes a global socioeconomic model called a resource-based economy, which would use automation and technology to meet the needs of yada, 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 yada. Well, it's the same thing. You know, it was just like a decade later, here they come again. So I'm going, wow, man, these guys, who are these people? What they want is they wanted to be able to have the elite in control, and they just happen to be the elite. I mean, you know, they got their brown shirts and advocates and Antifas and whatever the hell they got out there, you know, pounding the pavement. But the end result is that they want to have a managed society, and it's easier to manage you when they got rental houses being built new that BlackRock owns in the East Valley and your 15-minute city thing. So they're rats in a cage, man. They're just putting us all in easily controlled smart city kind of Belmont with Bill Gates thing, you know, 30 miles east of me here. It's right across the highway. And I'm going, they are not slowing down. Now, these projects, the Venus Project, they kind of hijack the Zeitgeist thing, and then the Natural Law Party and all this, is it the same people or the same overlapping interest? You know, what do you know about that?
My guess is there were multiple threads of people along the way that kind of got the idea from people like the Trilateral Commission. And they started other movements. For instance, the Zeitgeist movement and Venus Project, they were all technocrats in the first place. They got in a dispute with the original technocrats, and they said, oh, you do your thing and we'll do our thing. And so they split off, but it's the same thing, resource-based economic system run by them, right? So by science as well. So you see people having these the idea of a splinter movement, and they raise a flag and say, hey, we can do this too. It's basically the same thing, but you know, they don't get anywhere because they don't have the power, they don't have the money to do it, they don't have the influence to do it. So all these movements have fallen away over the years. They came and went, so to speak. The Trilateral Commission started with all the power they needed in the first place, all the money that they needed to make it happen, and they've been invincible ever since. So you know, I think there's even movements today that are probably minor movements who think they're going to do something useful with technology, but they won't. They won't get anywhere.
Peter Thiel, regulating AI hastens the Antichrist. Be afeared. If you don't give a digital intelligence the consciousness to rule you, that Antichrist will come. I mean, weird ass crap, man. I'm not even sure that he had any challenges from his peers or anything, or him doing. But these buds with Trump and up there and scraping all our data, so we ought to feel something.
Did they lose you?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay,
I just
sorry.
go. We gotta feel. We gotta feel something. What we gotta feel.
Exactly. It's interesting to see Peter Thiel relating to the circle around Trump. For instance, this faith advisor to President Trump, the lady that's running the faith office. Her name is Paula Kane, or White Kane, I believe it is. She's a very strange individual for sure. I don't appreciate her brand of Christianity either, but I don't know how she is going to interact with what Peter Thiel is saying, who's not even on the Christian map, if you will, but he's talking about the Antichrist as if he was an authority. Well, I don't know how you process this at the high level of the Trump administration.
Because he's trying to get the MAGA. He goes, you know, what does it say here? He's selling the twisted story of the Antichrist himself. If regulating AI leads to peace and safety, then not regulating it somehow thwarts the devil. You know, he's like, you know, if you go regulating AI and make it where we can't do what we want to, the Antichrist will come. What? I mean, who are you? Wow. I mean, you got to come up with a better sales gig than that. This is just weird.
Yeah, it really is. But it's meant to confuse people, that's for sure. And even as he's confusing people, I have to say, Peter Thiel is probably the most important strategist in our lifetime, outside of somebody like Zbigniew Brzezinski, who was a brilliant man. I didn't like anything he ever did or said, but nevertheless, he was a brilliant strategist. You got to give him that much. Peter Thiel is that kind of strategist as well. And whatever he does has a strategy attached to it, guaranteed. So whatever is in his mind about his statements about the Antichrist, it may in the end not have anything to do with the Antichrist at all. He may have another message or another thing he wants to foist on the human population. So you got to watch out to this guy.
You know, as a strategist, here's a good story to kind of articulate that. I think it was Gawker magazine or something. Yes. It was some, periodical that outed him as gay. Well, he didn't like it. Back then it wasn't, I don't know, you didn't get stars on your forehead or something. I mean, whatever. He didn't want it out there. So they come out, oh, Peter Thiel is gay. Oh, that pissed him off. But being the strategist that he is, what did he do? He goes, okay, all right, you guys want to play? We'll play. Well, he waits years. And then there was a lawsuit about Hulk Hogan had some, bedroom porno tape of him as something that was, in his video stack of VHS in his entertainment center of some contractor working on whatever stole it, okay? Well, then they sell it. It goes to Gawker, and they go after Hulk Hogan. Well, Peter Thiel, a lot of people didn't know this for a long time. He was the one that was bankrolling the lawsuit against the publication in support of Hulk Hogan and sued him into bankruptcy. Why? Because he had a bone to pick, and he was a strategist. He had time. He's like, don't worry about it. I get you. I get some. Well, he did. This is the kind of person that he is. Long-term thinking, doing whatever he wants to do to get something done. So this is what we're up against. Just say it.
Mm-hmm. You got that. Good point.
That gets you sooner or later. One thing that you and I had talked, and technocracy is really becoming a hot thing, and that's one thing it's missing from. And I already started my kind of a low-key campaign. A lot of the guys, I know from the Mises Institute. These guys, we had talked about it, and you're like, man, they need to get up to speed here. I don't think they really understand. And so I was at the Ron Paul birthday party a couple months ago, and a lot of these guys, you got Tom Woods and, Murphy and Stephen Kinsella and Jeff Deist and, Horton and, Ron Paul, of course, Lou Rock, a lot of these guys. And I'm going, hey, man, Patrick Wood thing. Well, I'm getting ready to send them an email, all of them individually, and go, hey, what the hell, man? You guys don't think this is important stuff? What other segments of the liberty movement do you think are, if not ignoring it actively, just don't see the importance of it, or, yes, there's too much baggage with it or something? What do you think is going on?
You see this all the time. And case in point, the JBS, that's the John Birch Society, for years didn't want anything to do with me. Although they really loved us back in the day when Sutton was with me, and they sold a lot of our books, tried out us over Washington, believe it or not. Fast forward, when I discovered Technocracy, I couldn't even get them to look at me at that point. They'd, no, that's nonsense. We're fighting we're the commie fighters. We're the fascist fighters. Don't bug us.
The hell
with
you
this.
think that is?
So, whatever. So, all of a sudden, however, just in the last few months, they've had a change of heart. All of a sudden, they asked me to write 2 articles for them for this upcoming magazine. Courtney Turner has an article as well, and Aaron Day had an article last month or maybe 2 months ago. And all of a sudden, they're willing to talk about technocracy. This is a big thing. Well, they were late to the party, but at least they came to the party, right?
Well, I'm glad you're getting, doing my little whisper campaign of starting to, are you freaking kidding me? That's next. But it was something as a young activist, people are shoving big charts of trilateral and, the graph of who went where and how and this and they're part of and doing the Council on Foreign Relations. And for decades, they made a big deal out of conspiracy nut of what, when they say you conspiracy theorist, I was young enough, I was born in 61. So this conspiracy theorist thing didn't have the same, connotation, I guess it did, they're expecting, because that's, you're dealing with a lot of, 80-year-olds, 90-something people that you don't want to be called a conspiracy nut. And I'm thinking, well, they're the only ones that have been right. I mean, they're the ones batting 1,000 and everything. I mean, yeah, I'm a conspiracy theorist. What the shit? I go, this is just so amazing. It's like they're always fighting the last war, When you're dealing with those that really hold the money, the purse strings, the banking, or whatever, they're having to now come to Generation Next. And how they're doing that is through the education system. They really ran up against it with the Levolution in the 07-08 campaign, and then again in 12. But mostly it was 07-08, that spontaneous order of what the crap are we up against? We got to get control of that internet thing. Well, then they, sell to Larry Ellison TikTok, then, Netanyahu's all happy now, So I'm just going, what makes you think? Because I remember the commercial. They go, "Ooh, I'm on Woohoo! Oh yeah, we got to, and then the guy's in the elevator and he gets up to his business office media and he goes, "Hey, everybody, get the Woohoo, whatever the heck it is." Then he gets back on the elevator that afternoon going down, and the same guys are going, "Oh, I'm off of that's so last century, Grandma's on Yoo-hoo." Well, what they were talking about was Facebook. They went from here, we're done, we're over here. Well, that kind of commentary, I'm sure, is still there, but it's, where are the cool kids? Oh, they're TikTok now. So, I mean, they'll go to, Telegram, Signal, Fred's new webpage. I mean, something. They keep fighting the last war. What is it that they're trying to accomplish? How much occupation in the minds of Generation Net? Why? What is it that you think that their holy grail, their modus operandi? What are they trying to do?
I don't understand the phenomena. I understand exactly what you're saying. Fighting the last war. I've seen this for decades now. I don't understand why people can't reframe their thinking to be looking forward rather than backwards. But apparently that's part of human nature. I don't know. That's not me. I like to look to the future. I want to see where the ship is headed. I really don't care where it's been in the past, but that's just me. Apparently, not a lot of people like me that want to look to the future and say, "Well, this is what's coming. Does anybody care? Do you want to change anything? Because this is your future after all." But yeah, I see this all the time. People are looking in the rear view mirror.
Yeah, you and I met at the behest of Senator Karen Johnson. She was Ernie, you got to talk to Patrick Wood, and told me who you were in the book. And I go, "That's real? That was a thing. That, oh my God, hell yeah, man! Let's do it up." At that time, you had kind of gone, I don't know, you lived your life, seclusion, raised a family, whatever. When was it? What year before you started your website, technocracy.news? You got back into it. You started, Technocracy Rising. You're starting to write. Because I'm starting to see a bunch of books now. Hell, you're not doing anything else now. So I'm just, when did that start, your reinsertion into the process?
It started when Tony Sutton died in 2002. When I discovered he had died, number one, but then I wanted to ask, where is his research? Because I know I saw all of his research at one point, and I understand the value of all his research. There was boxes upon boxes on boxes, and wow, I would have loved to have my hand on that, but it was all lost before he died. That's another story, but nevertheless, he died, and I realized at that point I was only one in the the only person on the planet who had the duplicate research on the Trilateral Commission. So that put pressure on me to do something, you know, because this guy's dead now, and it's up to me. So when I started studying again about the Trilateral Commission, I immediately ran across this concept of technocracy. I've never heard about technocracy in my life. I thought I knew something about American history. Evidently I didn't. But I discovered technocracy at Columbia University. I did a bunch of research, original research on it, just like Sutton, he taught me how to do that. I did a lot of research, trips all over the country, finding archives and stuff like that, original documents. And that's when I got started. It was around 2005. And from that point forward, I was trying to figure out what does it mean at that point. So then I started writing. My first book came out in 2015. And that was Technocracy Rising. So the rest is history. This is 10 years, but after that, I started the website just before that. And so I've had this domain name, technocracy.news, forever. You go to Google and type in the word technocracy, you won't find me, Technocracy News, till page 15 of the search room. Yeah. They hate me. They absolutely hate me. They buried me 6 feet under on their website. Nevertheless, I'm the only website in the world now that specializes on technocracy. I've been collecting articles for all these years, indexing them, categorizing them, making them available to the whole world at this point. And there's nobody like me in the whole world that's doing this. So on one hand, I wake up sometimes wondering, what the heck am I crazy? What am I doing this for? On the other hand, sanity returns, and I said, holy mackerel, I got to do this because somebody has to tell us a story for posterity. If there's nobody telling the story on these people, that knowledge will be lost forever to the world. I don't like that at all.
You know, I want to show people this, you know, you'll appreciate this. You go in to Freedom's Phoenix, you hit the search engine, just put smart cities, and down a little bit, here it is, Smart Cities Financing Guide. This was something that, because In-Q-Tel, which is the venture capitalist arm of CIA, and you have was it Michael Crow or something, the head of ASU, whatever. You know, I heard that Kirsten Sinema was going to take over that position or something. That's of interest. But here we have it was the three stool. It was where they had academia, you know, like the university system, business, which is like, you know, Intel and Microsoft and whatever the hell, and then policy leaders or political leaders or whatever. They just get politicians in there or whatever. Well, what happened was, this is a PDF of a document that if you go into it, let's see if it'll do it. The financing guide, yeah, we'll do that. You know, we put this on our server because this was so interesting. You go in and you go, all right, these are all the mechanisms by which they're going to fund it. You know, like user fees, you know, development, you know, dedication requirements, tap fees, Lincoln fee. And how it was done is they go, look what we did in Chicago. Woohoo! We did it in Chicago. And if that doesn't work for you, well, we got it, you know, in Baltimore, and we got it in this place, and we did it in this area, and we did it. Government-based financing options for city. You could do this. You could raise that. This is how they're going to fund it. You know, I'm going, man, it's a big. So Patrick would do the presentation on technocracy and what they're doing. I was focusing on the money. I go, ooh, there's some money in there. You know, so I saved this, and it's amazing. You look at the traffic on it, it keeps going up. That's from a lot of stuff that you're doing, you know. And I can just see this has been so not later. This is now. To think that they got a book on how to do it, where to get the money. You know, and Bill Gates has got his Belmont 30 miles east of here. It's going to be plug you in the back of the head matrix thing. You know, got to have your vaccine, of course. So, you know, this is coming right now? How close are we? What do we got to worry about? What's on the horizon?
The first target was 2030. That's been set by the United Nations with the 2030 agenda. Klaus Schwab talks about it as well. He's not there now, but nevertheless, they're still talking about it. The 2030 was the culmination of the convergence, if you will. And we see at this point, there's a possibility they might be early. Maybe 2029, maybe 28. That means we don't have much time left to do anything about it, if we're going to do anything at all. And especially in America, unfortunately, the MAGA movement is just upside down. They don't have a clue what they're doing at this point. They don't see any of these threats at all. It's interesting, some Democrats are understanding more about technocracy than some Republicans are. Go figure. They're getting it. They're more clear-headed at this point than a lot of Republicans. So our country is probably asleep at the switch, basically. And unless there's some type of a mass awakening, all of a sudden we'll be sleepwalking into tyranny.
You know, the one thing that when you talked about the tokenization of everything, that's very scary. You know, there's no, you know, the way here in the West, you know, west of the Mississippi, certainly the southwestern states and so on, it was a western state, whatever, all this land in Arizona, only 16% of it is in private hands.
Yes.
The rest is Native American reservations, you know, the gunnery ranges for, you know, Yuma, and they're going to drop bombs on the Goldwater, whatever the hell. I have national forests, they got BLM land, you know, on and on and on. You know, there's not that much. Well, all that federal land was supposed to go to the states. After a while, you go, oh, and now it's yours now. Okay, peace out, do what you want. Nope. They got whatever excuse they have for not doing that. But it's now that land, instead of going to the states as it was supposed to, which I'm feeling a lawsuit coming, they're going to take that and tokenize it, and it goes, and who's going to buy pennies on the BlackRock? And this is so to what? To disperse amongst the people so we can tokenize buy it so that we can use it? So no, for them to rent or something. I have no idea. And you're not going to know until they do it anyway, after they own it. So the tokenization of natural resources, mining, timber, water, fresh water, everything,
yes,
everything in the hands of whom? Do you know?
Well, the oligarchs for sure, but you look at the members of the Trilateral Commission in particular, represented, for instance, by Larry Fink, who is a member of the Trilateral Commission. Companies like BlackRock and sovereign wealth funds like in the Mideast. Trump wants to establish a sovereign wealth fund in America as well. This is bad news for us, by the way, totally. But you know, go figure that this is the way it's going, and the people who are accumulating the assets in the first place, just keep your eye on them, because that's where the wealth is. That's where the power is. Look at people, for instance, like Howard Lutnick. Case in point, his former firm, managed all of the assets related to treasury bills for Tether, the giant, crypto company, and he also owned a 5% share of Tether. Well, all of a sudden he stands up and says now he's in charge of all the assets. He thinks he is in America, and he's talking about.
And what's he Secretary of Interior or
Commerce?
Commerce.
Exactly. So here you have a guy that has his eyeball on all of our assets to be tokenized in America, and just so happens I just discovered this probably recently, that Tether has a big division dedicated to tokenization of assets. Lo and behold.
Shocking.
It's like, what? What?
Well, this stable coin thing that they do tied to the dollar, what benefit is that? I got
Nothing.
a digital
And
form
nothing
of
at all. Nothing
a dollar
at all.
that, I don't mean anything.
Yes.
Well, here, let's show this. Take a look at this. Here, you add all this up, Vanguard Group, BlackRock, State Street, and then Temasek, I don't know who that is. There's like 25% these guys own already of all equities.
That's right.
I mean, damn, who's the biggest owner of they, them, those? No one will leave us alone. And I don't know what the states have as a bulwark against this stuff. Are individual states just being co-opted into the we rule everybody thing, or is there some that are pushing back?
They don't have a clue. The states really don't have a clue what's going on. I wish they did, but Arizona doesn't. I've talked enough people here that they're fighting some good issues for sure.
Yeah, they don't want to know.
Well, they're busy with other stuff perhaps, but they're not paying attention to the bouncing ball. We try to explain them what's going on, but they don't want to see it.
Well, when will that change? Ever? I mean, we got to get all Freedom's Phoenix-y and do initiatives and campaign, be a butthead. I mean, what would make a difference?
Honestly,
because this is what Courtney, our attorney, was going on about. You can't just sit out there in the desert, Ernie. You're being a slacker. We got to go get some. And I'm going, all right, what? I got Patrick Wood right here. We'll go kick some ass. What should we kick ass on? Come on, Patrick. What should we do?
Here's the difference between Courtney and me, probably. Ernie, I'm glad that you're in the desert. That's where you belong, man.
Go away.
Who's going to rule a desert? Nobody, except people like you.
Well, that's kind of my whole point, is that to be able to have the option to resist is have the option to resist.
Exactly.
You educate your own kids. I have my own food, my own water. I got my own energy. Solar. That is my activism, and advocating other people do it. Nope. You got to go in and fix the laws and work with the city council, the county supervisor, the education board, which I understand. I've gone through that phase. I mean, I've been decades of in their face, make them say it. But the thing is that I'm more with Aaron. Aaron Day I have after you. And he's more of the mindset that I am. But what was interesting is you have Courtney Turner, Patrick Wood, Aaron Day, all on the same thing. They're not necessarily all in agreement,
That's right.
But what do you guys overlap in on agreeing?
Yes, exactly. And it's going to be interesting just to see who's left in what sectors. Most of the people in our country, they can't get out of the city. They'd like to. I'm sure millions of people would like to get out of the city. But for the sake of the 868 million acres of land that the United States owns already, do the math on this, Ernie. How much land could every family in America have if they were parcel this out to all America? I guarantee it's something over just 20 acres of land for every family in the country.
When they did the 40 acres and a mule for the freed slaves, or they did the Sooners, the Homestead Act and so on, people went out, they put cornerstones up and improved the land. It's yours. Well, come to find out, that still exists, or at least it did in the mid-'90s. What happened is people were starting to do it, and during the Clinton administration, the problem was they defunded the office that you turned in the paperwork.
That's right.
They go, yeah, you can do it. We don't have anybody to take the paperwork, so I guess you ain't doing it, And I went, wow. I mean, over a lifetime, you and I have experienced them shutting down freedom as options. 'Cause that's what freedom really is.
Yes.
It said, does money buy you freedom? Well, it buys you options, the freedom to act on whatever. So they're restricting your options, your option to get, your own private health care, your option to homeschool, your option to grow your food. You got a tomato plant in your front yard, boom, you get a citation. Chickens? Hell no. I mean, it's so stupid and it's so obvious. So where does this go? What are they ultimately looking to do?
Same thing. Get all the resources. That's what they want. That the land rush is on for them to get all the resources under their control. When that happens, we're out of luck. Period.
But why? I mean, is to what end? Just so you don't have it? I mean, I don't understand.
Okay, sir, the mindset of these oligarchs that are trying to get all the land under their control, this started with David Rockefeller in 1973. That was his plan. Yeah. He understood even then that since the gold was just being decoupled, right? And he understood, I'm sure crystal clear, that someday money would be no use to him and it would run out of steam, if you will. And he had all the money in the world. He had a bank, Chase Manhattan Bank. He had all the money at his disposal, but that money won't buy anything if it goes away, if it goes up in smoke. He saw that you have to convert that money into resources. Because if you own the resources, then you can have any system on top of it that you want, and you can basically hold people up to get a part of it. If they want to have some beef or a farm or lumber to build a house or something, they have to come to you. You have a monopoly on the resources at that point. Will they always be selfish? Yes, they will. They don't care a hoot about the people per se getting resources to live, as long as they hold it themselves and somehow they think they're king of the hill. Maybe they think they can somehow save all those resources for themselves somehow, for maybe their family and in the future or something. But otherwise, it's just patently insane. Why would they do that? Well,
because they can.
Because they can. That's exactly right. They can.
Okay, I'm sending Donna to put this into the archive right now. All right, boom. All right, this is what I wanted to share. This is how bad it is, okay? Let's go ahead and take a look here. What I did is I did a search, and I go, all right, this Constitution for the New States of America. You ever heard of this?
No, that's a good one.
Ford Foundation, Rockefeller Center, late 70s, kind of same guys. You need to. This is something you need to add to your quiver, okay? All right. So, Constitution for the New States of America. A Constitution for the New States of America is the 40th version of this revolutionary document prepared by a team of social experimenters at the Center for whatever. The phrase it's for the 21st century, and it was supported by a Ford Foundation grant. It was, it's they, them, those. Well, you go into it, and you go, all right, what's up here? Constitution for the New States of America, from the book The Emerging Constitution by Tugwell, published in 74. Blah, 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 blah. Center for the Study of Democratic Institutions. Fund for the Republic, Ford Foundation. All right? The center is the first objective accomplished, by they, them, those socialists. Who gives a crap? Well, this is what they did. The preamble. This is something this is when they go, we need a constitutional convention. We need, once you open it up, here it comes. They would do it. We need an equal rights amendment. We need an abortion clause. We need a balanced budget, thing. Or whatever excuse that they come up with to try and hit the 33 state thing to have a convention, this is what they're trying to put in. Okay? Just saying. Well, this is what they do. All right. Article 1, Rights and Responsibilities. Section 1, freedom of expression, of communication, of movement, of assembly, or of petition shall not be abridged except in a declared emergency. It's all like that. It is all, it's not a right, it's a privilege granted by the government. Public communications may decline to reveal sources of information, but shall be responsible for hurtful disclosures. This is like this, identity politics stuff. I mean, this was written in the early 70s. This new Constitution for the United States, I don't even remember how I came across this, but I'm like, who are these people? What the hell? They already got it planned out, man. And this is why I've been so opposed to a constitutional convention. Because once you open it up for any reason, it's open. And here we go. And the Constitution, Bill of Rights, is what's in their way. Just saying.
You got it. I remember with my own ears and with my own eyes, in the mid-'70s, the people who first mentioned a constitutional convention were none other than Zbigniew Brzezinski and Henry Kissinger. That's all I need to know. I don't need, and no more facts for me. That's all I need to know about the Constitutional Convention. If they come up with it in the first place, I don't want any part of it.
I can give you a whole bunch of initiatives and activism that we did to highlight the Legislative Exchange Council, what communists they were, and kind of, it's same. Us old guys have been around doing this. I don't think I know. We know. I mean, we've been there, saw it happen. But the people that sit as, Speaker of the House, the President of the Senate, the state legislature, the governors, all that, as we're doing politics and running for office, and, I got an argument, and you bring in and go to legislative hearings, and, whatever. There's something wrong with them. And it wasn't until like a decade ago that I figured out what it was. They're sociopaths. They just don't care. They don't have any empathy, love, compassion. That's why love of your family, love of yourself, your community, your country, your whatever, that is why a lot of the good people, which is the vast majority, by the way, that is why we resist, why humanity is capable of keep on marching on, because when we start to recognize it as an existential threat to our humanity, then people get up and go, oh, hell no. Well, the bad guys don't see that. And in the Declaration of Independence, it says we suffer evils while they're sufferable.
Yes.
But after a long train of abuse, we're going to do some whip ass. Well, the whip ass is coming, I hope, but then they try and dial that down. A little chemtrail here, a little red dye number 483 or whatever, a little fluoride. I mean, kind of, they're just not so, ornery anymore. They're under control. But then people start getting out from under control, and COVID definitely did that. Explain to us, what the COVID years did. Did it accelerate, a lot of the attention for what you were doing?
Absolutely. I pegged what I call the Great Panic of 2020. I pegged that as a technocratic assault on humanity immediately, because I saw all of the people in academia rolling over out of the climate change crowd, especially in Europe and the UK, to be involved with the COVID debacle. That was a clear sign to me. There was been a sea change. And my intuition has played out, I think, because it was an assault on humanity, and it was at the hands of technocrats in particular. And now we see the aftermath of this. Big Pharma was involved in it for sure, but there was other people as well. Military was involved. And in any case, the United Nations certainly was a big part of it. That speaks to Rockefeller feeding his concept of the new international order, economic order, to the United Nations in 1974, by the way, Resolution 3201 and 3202. Well, you look at the big picture of this, you can see what's happening, but you can't see it in the details, right? You have to look at the big picture. Get your elevation up, and you'll see what's happening. COVID was not about disease per se. It was about clobbering the human race to make them compliant for technocracy. It also killed a bunch of people. It also created a huge fertility crisis around the world. We're still suffering this. So however you look at it, this was a technocratic assault on humanity, and they're just getting started. The next shoe, I think, is going to drop with the financial thing. Maybe there'll be something, it's kind of a crisis or something, financial crisis that'll exacerbate the whole thing. But you can see the momentum is building under the Trump administration to reach some type of convergence with all of these technologies, with all these initiatives and stuff to come to a head. And boom, then we'll have 2030 ahead. And that won't be good.
Do you know why 2030? Is that some numerology thing? A deadline?
No,
the mothership is coming? I mean, what?
This was the target that the United Nations set. I'm sure they set that with the blessings of the Trilateral Commission, but it was an artificial date, but everybody's playing to it at this point. And we can see things converging, multiple threads. For instance, in AI, likely we're going to have AGI, that's general intelligence, before 2030. You can see the movement, like the resource grab with homes across America, the possibility that we're going to be switch away from a debt-based economic system to an asset-based system. I can see it that happening before 2030. There's other things. The political system just about to fly apart in America for sure. Even if Trump lives out his term, you know that the next president is probably going to be J.D. Vance, who happens to be a protege of Peter Thiel. We don't want that for sure, but there you go.
Peter Thiel. What do we know about him?
Everything, as far as I'm concerned. I know everything that I want to know about Peter Thiel. He's an evil dude.
Based on what? What's his goal? What's the where's
his
he
goal?
at? He's supposed
to
be a Christian libertarian.
No. Peter Thiel is a monopolist. He was a chess champion in college, by the way. He was a master, whatever, blah blah blah. He had ranking on the global stage, no less. When he got out of college, he went to work as a lawyer just for a short time, and he got out of that. He wanted to get into venture capital, and he concluded openly, it's in print, that competition is for suckers. Well,
competition's a sin.
No, listen. Well, yeah, okay, but he says competition for suckers. Why did he say that? When he was playing chess competitively in college, Stanford University, he was known to be. He didn't just play the game. Hey, nice to meet you. Good luck, whatever. He always wanted to crush and humiliate his opponents. And he did that successfully because he's a master chess player. Now he gets into business and he concludes, competition is for suckers because if you're competing with somebody, you're giving a cent to them, they might win. So he adopted a philosophy of business that you have to dominate everything in the space. If you can't dominate it, don't play. So his strategy has always been, even when going back to PayPal, when you invent a new thing, make sure there's no other way that people can get into your space, keep them out, and then dominate the whole space yourself, right? So today with Palantir, this is exactly what he's doing. He did it with Facebook as well. He was the first outside investor on Facebook. He taught Mark Zuckerberg the same principles that he was living by. You have to dominate. Don't compete. Dominate. So this has been his mindset ever since. Whatever he does, he wants to dominate it for the sake of dominating it, and everybody else get out of his way, basically. So this is how he has raised Palantir up to be the largest intelligence company in the world, and they're probably never going to be any competition. There's no near competition for him at this point. So he has a monopoly again.
Yeah. Is there going to be there's always, opposition. There's always, at least, people that, I'm not taking the mark of the beast because I'm not, and get over it. Just like we had people that just refuse, no matter how inconvenient it was, how many jobs they lost, it had a big impact on our family. We went on the Love Bus Liberty tour, doing our opposition to that because we knew it was coming. We bought the bus and started building it in 2019. I'm going, oh, here we go. Well, my youngest daughter worked at Honeywell Aerospace, and they wanted her to wear a mask and get the vaccine. And then she goes, nope. Well, if you don't, then we're going to, and you're having, she goes, one of these days, my, security card's going to work or it's not. And when it doesn't, then I know, until then, suck it. Man, I'm not doing it. Well, it went on for a year or more. And finally, didn't work. Then there was a class action, and because she did it so well, they like begging her to join it. I don't know if she's still in it. They're ouch quitting, whatever the hell they're doing. But she don't care. She's just done. She's a stay-at-home mom now and started doing real estate, and I don't care. The thing that I saw with all of this, people would acquiesce out of convenience. Now, a lot of times it wasn't because they were afraid they were going to make grandma sick or whatever. They just weighed the risk, benefit, and they just went along. Well, they make it so inconvenient for you to not have your national ID, you not to use their CBDC, and it's going to be a decision, certainly by those that are principled or, oh my God, Christian, and go, I don't know, this seems like the mark of the beast. Neither will you be able to buy, sell, work, whatever, and they got to make a decision. Well, yeah, but it's so hard. What, you think God was going to make everything easy for you? What the crap? And how long would you have to hold out? Years? Decades? You're going to die? You're going to have to go move and, be Amish. What is it that's going on? Well, they go after the Amish raw milk. They go after their, meat. They go after. All of a sudden, you got a bunch of horse-drawn buggies with Trump signs, and they go vote. Is that better? We got Amish voting now? We're at strange days, Patrick. Where does this end? Have you mapped it out? All your round tables, you guys sit around going, we got to do this to prevent that. What's that and what's this? Yeah, help me out, man.
Well, I'll tell you what. My only hope at this point is not in the forces of man and what man can do at this point, because man is so screwed up in the first place. My only hope at this point is what's in the future when Jesus Christ returns to earth. At that point, our problems will be solved, and the evildoers will be dispatched at some point. And until that happens, we have lots of hope in this world, not because of what's going on, but just because of the people we love and the people we associate with. And we have to remember, you have to hug somebody once in a while, Ernie. I know you know this more than me, right?
Yeah, I'm a big hugger.
And we have all this AI, and it's separating people from society. It's a train wreck. It's going to be worse than social media ever was for a younger generation, especially. And we're destroying a generation of human beings that will never be able to love again. They'll never be able to touch anybody again. They don't even care if they touch anybody. And this is really a travesty, in my opinion, but this is what it is. My hope at this point is just to be a good ambassador, if you will, for the kingdom of heaven at this point. So
thank you.
I want to just tell it is like it is. This is bad news for sure, but if I were an ambassador to France, for instance, if I went to France and had to learn the culture and talk their lingo, right? If I had to tell them some bad news, I would just have to tell them this is what's going on here. So then you just let it lay, and if people can accept it, great. If they can't, oh well.
So what is it Generation Next should be aware of? What is it that they're not getting? They're all entertained and distracted, all boredom amused, all want satisfied. It's kind of like the, Ned Beatty's speech in Network. I mean, you have mastered the primordial forces, and for that you must atone, And they're talking about, worldwide control of whatever. So what do we tell Generation Next? You really need to what?
Well, to understand freedom, it's not just based on what you want to do. Freedom is based on property rights, period, end of subject. It always has been. America was built on property rights, not just the right to own property itself. That's very, very important. But also to have the right to your own body and your own mind and your own thinking process. If you don't have that, you have nothing. That will strip your humanness out of you in a country minute. So if there was something to tell a younger person today, guard your mind, because these people are coming for your mind, they're coming for your soul. If they could, they would capture it and put it in a bottle, and that would be you all together. But this is what we're facing right now, I think, in society. The younger people don't understand what's going on because they're so enmeshed in whatever they're doing in their other games and stuff. But this is where it's at this point. And young people, take care of your young people. Obviously, these people, these oligarchs, they couldn't care less if your generations died before they're 10 years old. They just don't care.
They're trying to kill them off.
Exactly. So for all the concern and, we love the children, we want to take care of the children, give me a break. These people have declared war on the children of the world. That makes me sick. But nevertheless, as I want to be a good ambassador to tell this story, take care of your kids, would you, please? Don't let them have these companion apps. Don't let them be on a screen all day long.
All the time, yeah.
Exactly. Take them to Uncle Ernie's farm.
Yeah, get your ass out here, get to work, boy. This is. I'm wondering. In your hangouts, you're starting to get a lot of attention from other people wanting you to be part of their roundtables, and you're getting the message out and so on. What do you think opposition to this that's coming, and certainly I'm sure they believe you got enough evidence, but what do you think their main solution is? The generate. What are they missing? Something? Are they right? What appeals to you more, and what are you afraid of? It's like, vote, don't vote. I don't give a crap. I run for office a bunch. I get it. But my one's always about general public opinion. I just wanted them to say it, and get to have a say. But there's an advocacy. For what? The engagement of what? We went through the Levolution, spontaneous order, a bunch of people, no, hell no. Then you go through, the Tea Party movement. Then you get MAGA. Then you get. But it's always collectivizing as opposed to individual spontaneous opinion kind of thing.
Yes.
And I'm wondering what you advocate for and what are your peers advocating for.
I've never been a big fan of labor unions. But with the robot revolution, what's going to come to head in 2026 for sure, I put my hope on the IBEW and other labor unions in America. When they get wind what's happening with their employers adopting robots to displace these people out of their jobs, and they'll find out there's no jobs for them anywhere at that point. You're going to have an uprising of labor across America that we've never seen in the history of our country. I don't advocate any types of violence, but nevertheless, the labor unions of the world might well raise up at some point and make serious trouble for these people.
They better be signing over some tokenized land. Now you better get out there and get to work.
I know. So we're pretty positive, you and I. The glass is half full. Abundance is around the corner. It's not all doom and gloom. But what is the future? What something wicked this way is here, yes.
and then what? There's always an after. What is it going to look like?
It may look better than it does right now, honestly. But the future is always messy, and it's always iffy. It doesn't really depend necessarily on what we want, but when we're faced with it in the first place, when you understand that you can be resilient in the face of it, whatever life throws at you, then you'll understand what the measure of a man is. That's simplistic on one hand, but you saw this resolve in the 1800s, for instance, when people moved west with the shirt on their back, and they came out to live, to develop property and farms and stuff like that, build houses, have children. They were tough. They were tough for sure. We've lost that kind of toughness as humans, I think. We need to get it back. And for the ones that are willing to accept it already, get tough right now. So,
I'll tell you how tough. It's just some, silly little experience that Donna and I had that kind of, just a few weeks ago. We, because our children and grandchildren are in Maricopa County. We got like an hour and a half to go visit kind of thing. But we go to the, kids' football games, soccer matches, this, that, whatever. We spend, that's why we're here, is because Donna, one, didn't like snow because she's from Pennsylvania, hell no. So she likes the desert, I like the desert, and we wanted to be within an hour and a half drive of grandkids' soccer games. I mean, that kind of thing. So we still have family. 4 kids, 12 grandkids. I'm familyed up, and extended family. I got plenty of things to do. We go over, and football had just started. So, it's Sunday afternoon football games, and then we go visit, another one of our kids for grandkid birthday, and then we go visit another one, go to the, whatever, their soccer match. And one thing we realized, all of them, is how cold it was in 110-degree Phoenix. You go in their home, I'm like, what the hell? Because we're out here in the desert, man. We're using evaporative cooling. We got a little window shaker. Sleep at night. We got enough power. We're doing okay. But, it's hot. We go out in the day and we're busting butt and come back in the oasis kind of deal. But we're not watching TV with blankets in summer. I'm going, man, you guys are freaking, what kind of refrigerator existence is this? Man, you guys are spoiled. Now you need to up the thermostat a little bit here. I mean, damn. When you're watching TV and you have rolls of these, polyester, whatever blankets that they all got on, you are covered up watching TV in the summer with a blanket. And I'm going, how spoiled are you? This is, man, I don't think you're going to make it. This is, come on, and it's simple things like that. It really concerned me. I'm going, yes. Damn. They go, well, we don't want to come out there. It's hot. I go, yeah, it is. And the one thing that Donna and I are experiencing is nature a lot more. I mean, definitely, I used to make fun of my friends that live out here, how much they're always on the weather apps and so on. Well, heck, that's like second TV for us. I mean, we got to look at our weather, whatever is going to, they promised me rain and hardly sprinkled. But this is the kind of lifestyle that Generation Next has. It's comfort for convenience. They got, Thomas Jefferson didn't have a microwave. I mean, it was so much effort went into surviving, like you were saying, go west, young men, and get to work. Is that pioneering spirit going to resurrect itself? Is going to be a bunch of roadkill? You want to get rid of the population, all you got to do is turn off the air conditioning? I mean, how do you think this is going to play out?
I can see people getting resourceful and tough at the same time.
Yep.
Some will fall away for sure. They'll just wither and die, but others will stand up and they're the ones that'll be counted. And unfortunately, you say, well, a lot of people will get killed, maybe die because they can't fend for themselves or whatever. But you'll have other people who will build communities based on their toughness and their ability to survive, to be resilient, that suffer blows, that sort of thing, sickness as well. This has always been the case with humanity before. I can't think of any reason that would not be true now as well.
If they can physically change us, they change our DNA. They get an mRNA, turn you into a blithering idiot. They can, fluoride you, chemtrail you, red dye number, 451 or whatever.
Yeah.
So this is a good friend, IT, webmaster for the site and everything, and he's a Michelangelo building all kinds of stuff. He's, on the keyboard with his greasy fingernails from working on his bulldozer. I mean, he's one of those guys. Well, I made the same comment to him, and he goes, no, humanity will rise up to the need. He goes, they always have. And that's his optimistic view of the future. When humanity has to, they'll take care of business. And I'm going, yeah, probably, if we physically can.
That's right.
If we're not ill. If we're not, they pushed a button and all of a sudden all of the graphene whatever and clogs have turned stupid or something. I mean, because if they can, they will. Before I gotta get ready for the next show, but I wanted you to summarize everything that you're doing and certainly give out your web pages and stuff, how people can follow all your work. Because Patrick Wood, the man, he's back and he's in demand. Go ahead.
I love it. Well, technocracy.news, that's where you go. I have a Substack also, but there's patrickwood.substack. But mainly go to Technocracy News. I have everything there, my boot camp, my books, my articles, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I just released, by the way, this brochure. We call it the Technocracy brochure. It's just a 8.5 by 11 trifold on nice color, glossy paper, and it tells the story of technocracy inside. I won't show it right now, but I'm selling these for $25 for a 25 pack of 25, and get these and hand them around to people who've never heard of technocracy in the first place. This robot is serving a meal on the front cover, you see, and the tagline at the bottom says, you wanted convenience, instead you got replaced. The robots are coming for you, dude.
They are. You know what I want? And here's your webpage. It's chock full of a bunch of information, access to get caught up. But the one of the things that I'm looking forward to is I would love to have Tony Stark Jarvis AI of my own little robot and get out there and build and hold this, and I need, to hold the flashlight, and it might be able to keep it steady. Donna's off wandering around. Wait, over here on this bolt, So I get, so my jaw horse it's like a little vice stand thing. That saved my marriage. And I get something that can hold something, So I'm going, I want Jarvis, not Alexa. I don't need it listening to me all the time, categorizing whatever. But if I could have my own AI, my own robot that doesn't phone home and stab me in the middle of the night, I'd be good with that. I don't care. I'm not anti-technology, but it's mine, freaking mine, not yours, mine, private mine. Is that their goal? Hell no. It's you can't repair it. It's leased from, and like General Motors, they keep going on about they're just going to start leasing cars and not even sell them. It's not yours anymore because it's got proprietary, John Deere tractor. You can't fix it. I mean, this mindset is totally opposite of what it was to be American. Out there, Yankee ingenuity, go fix it and get her done. So I'm looking forward to a life of abundance through technology that we can make use of, decentralized down to the individual's control. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. It's like a 65 Chevy. I mean, it's mine. The only electronics in that thing is AM radio. So I'm just, this is what's coming. So that's what I'm hoping for. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Technocracy.news. Patrick, I got to get going. Thanks for coming on and being such a good friend of the show, man. Peace, brother. You keep doing what you're doing, and we'll keep promoting it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
All right. Peace, brother.